Welcome, everyone. My name is Mackenzie. I'm the founder of Grad Jobs, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Kokila. She came to Australia a little while back as an international student, completing her master's in economics, and then she moved on to secure her current role as a responsible investment analyst at North Cape Capital, a fund manager based over in Sydney. Kokila was a client of ours a little while back, and she impressed me so much that I thought it would be invaluable to get her on the podcast. And in this episode, we're going to dive into her story, learn about what she actually does as an analyst, and talk through the job search and how that part was. So welcome, Kokila.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thanks for having me.
What do you do as a responsible investment analyst?
I think so. Basically, it's a term for ESG, and ESG is something which is like so up and coming nowadays. ESG stands for environmental, social governance. So it's a part of finance where we look at those three factors, which is environment, which is to do with carbon footprints, and our our businesses being ethical. So rather than looking at just the monetary, monetary returns, we use these kind of practices, and we kind of see if companies are doing better than just making profits. What I do on a day-to-day basis, I think I can just like outline what I did today, and that's kind of just like representative of what I do every day. So today I went to a conference for deforestation. So a lot of research to see, because we have a whole bunch of investments, and I just have to make sure that they're not heading towards a risky path in terms of climate or in terms of anything else. So I do a little bit of data analysis as well. So I'm currently developing a model to the ESG factors for companies. So instead of it being a very qualitative figure, being like, hey, this company is doing good in terms of human rights or like ethics or something, we're trying to make it a very quantitative kind of figure where we go, oh, does it disclose, a particular standard? Does it adhere by a particular set of rules? So by bringing it down to a very binary figure, we can kind of score, and we can kind of use a system to see if these companies are doing good in terms of ESG or not.
Say someone wants to break into that field. What are the main skills they should focus on?
Some basic knowledge of finance, economics, and I think those are like the major things. So we don't really get into accounting per se. And if you have some prior knowledge about sustainability standards, that will also be really beneficial. I do see a lot of people kind of transitioning from um, a master's in finance into sustainability, or a master's in economics into sustainability. And there are courses coming up right now. For example, I'm currently doing the CFA ESG certification. That's really helpful in kind of learning about what sustainability is. And there's no one particular thing that can get you into it. It's just like you can be of any, you can have any background, related background that is, and kind of just like be like, oh, I'm interested in this, and kind of take courses so that you get a little bit more familiar with the terms. And I think that's how you get into the field.
How was your job search?
It was tough, to say for the least. I think everybody around me knew how tough it was, because I made it. It was not my problem. I made it like everybody's problem. So like, even like with my family and with my friends, every time I talk to them, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I still don't have a job yet." So yeah, in a nutshell, it was definitely difficult. It wasn't an easy endeavor at all.
What do you think made it so difficult?
I think a range of factors. I think just like getting rejected left, right, and center. And then at a point of time, you're like, okay, so like, why am I even getting rejected? I think it comes to that point, because you could be doing everything properly, and then just like you could have missed out on something or the other. So I think just the sheer not knowing of why all of those rejections were coming in the first place.
How long did it take you to get this job?
It took me a year. I think I went through a lot of phases during that time. The first 3 months, I was very, very hopeful. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna crash it. And then I was so sad. I didn't even want to get out of bed at that point of time. And then I started bartending again. And then I thought, like, I was just like, you know what? It's okay if we have a master's in economics. What if we're just like a bartender for the rest of our lives? Because like that's the point where I was at. Just when I was starting to like completely lose faith is when this interview started coming up, and yeah, and that's how I got it.
What do you think made the difference between when you were applying and not getting interviews to when you started applying and getting interviews?
I think it was more of just like complete acceptance as to it happening or to it not happening, and a complete detachment from the outcome itself. I was just like, okay, let me just prepare and let me do my best, and let's just not worry about the outcome at all. And it was just that complete detachment from the outcome. I think that allowed me to be a little bit more confident as well. When I was interviewing, because like the last interview I had to travel to Sydney. They took me to the boardroom and they were going to interview me. I was like shivering and shaking, but then I was just like, it's okay. No matter what happens, it's okay. Like we've gone through this before, we'll go through this again. But practice, I think, practice and like detachment.
That's really interesting. So your mindset shifted, and when your mindset shifted, did you notice better results, even though your process was the same?
I did because it honestly allowed me to be more confident. Because after a point of time, I'm
Mm.
just like, this is me. I'm doing the best that I can, and it's okay if the outcome is good or bad. I kept thinking about what's next. I was just torturing myself because I would go through each and every explicit detail of the interview and was like, oh, if did I say hi wrong? Did I pronounce their name correctly? Did I pronounce my name correctly? What is my name? Like, so I started getting I down that spiral, and that honestly was not healthy for me at all because it used to keep me up at night. So I think through going through a lot and lot of interviews and getting rejected so many times, yeah, just to step back and say, no matter what happens, it's okay. Um, I think yeah, that really brought a difference for me in my whole entire interview approach.
How many interviews did you end up having in total?
I would say around 20 to 25 companies. And many of these companies were online and virtual because like that's an annoying thing that they're doing nowadays.
How many of the interviews that you had were in person?
Just this one actually. Just as I was going for this one, I also was kind of simultaneously applying for FTI consulting because I really really liked their team, and I was progressing towards it as well, and I was in the last interview stage of that, but then I got North Cape, so I told them that I'm not going to proceed with their interview further.
The only interview you had that was in person you got. If you could go back in time, if you could do it all again, but you could take all the knowledge that you've acquired, how would you achieve what you've achieved, but within 3 months instead of 12?
um I think, in a philosophical standpoint, I would say that I had to go through all of that to get where I am right now. That 12-month journey had to happen for me to get this job. All of those teachings, going back to the bar. The last 3 months of my job search, I was managing a bar, the small little bar in Brisbane, this Italian place. And I think it's a very, very small thing, right? But like, when I was approaching my manager, I was looking down at the ground and I was talking to him. And he was like, okay, why are you doing that? Look at me, look up and talk. Like, whenever you want to talk to somebody, look up and talk. And I realized that through this whole entire journey of just like constant, just like demotivation, I've lost the ability to look at a person and talk. And getting that back from that bar, I know this is a really small thing, but I think it all adds to the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Like if I hadn't cultivated that confidence in that bar in those 3 months, I don't think that I would have gotten the job at North Cape as well. Because just yesterday I was talking to the COO and he was like, "Yeah, when you were interviewing, you seemed very confident. You kept your chin up and you were talking, eloquently." And I was like, that wouldn't have happened if, I hadn't worked in a bar in that particular bar and that person did not tell that to me in those 3 months. So I know that isn't like the kind of the answer that you're looking for. So, but if I can condense the 1 year and if I could make it happen in 3 months, I don't know if I would have been able to. But if you were to call that as a lesson, I think like stop underplaying yourself. I think I was underplaying myself too much during the whole year.
In terms of your job search, you were doing pretty much the right things. It was just more of a shift in who you were as a person.
Yeah, totally.
Mm. So, okay, so if you could take back to 12 months ago or 2 years ago, you could take back all those learnings. You could take back Kokila from today. How
Hmm.
fast do you think you would land a job then? Pretty fast.
Probably. Probably for sure. And I think it has most to do with just like confidence and not
Mm.
and not underplaying myself. Because people, I think, especially, and I can talk about like international students, right? We leave home, we come here, and we lose so much confidence. We lose so much of our identity trying to kind of adapt to our surroundings. But I think what I've been learning in the past 3 months of working and when I was interviewing is using that differentiation is going to be your biggest strength. Saying that I'm not from here and that is how I bring a different perspective and that is where my strength lies. I think that one increases your confidence and two, it kind of gives you an edge.
And how do people build their confidence apart from, I mean, going through the journey and failing a ton of times? And
Yeah.
what can they like? Is there a way you think they can get a lot of those skills and traits without having to go through 12 months of doing it tough?
I don't think so. I wish there were. Um, I really wish there were, but I don't think that, especially in when you ask me, it's a very personal opinion that you won't be able to, because the strongest people that I met, the most persevering people that I met, sat and sat and sat in their misery for so long until it just did not shake them anymore. So I think that kind of grit um, comes with a lot of time, with a lot of experience. And I'm not there yet for sure, but if I don't think it's an idiom or a book that you can read that all of a sudden that you're just like that.
Last question. Do you have anything you wanted to say to people watching this who maybe they're struggling with the job search, or any big tips you wanted to share in addition to everything else we've talked about before we finish up?
Um, I think I think what really helped me is not to take things too seriously, and that would that would kill a person. I know that if somebody were to tell me this exact sentence when I was going through my job search, I'll be like, and I'll be like, yeah, sure, what is she talking about, like that. But I think like just to not give in to just the rejections and people telling you, oh, you're shooting too high, or like people telling you, because there's so much noise all the time. There's so much advice, there's so much sad stuff happening, and at the end of the day, I think like it's really, really important that you don't take it to heart, because it's a numbers game. And well, it's a numbers game, and I seriously feel like if you've gotten this far, you're destined for something way more than just like sitting and moping over each and every rejection as it comes, because there will be a lot of rejections that come, and like you just have to learn to like kind of dust it off your shoulder, develop a thick skin, and just move on saying, yeah, that wasn't for me.
I love that. You're unbeatable, un- undefeatable.
No, no, I just want to sleep.
I
You
love
know,
that mindset though. Like if you just never back down, you have to win at some point. Like just
yeah.
when no one when they're sleeping, like that's when you win.
I mean, something. This is just like taking, darts, right? If you have only three darts, I mean, you're going to miss. But if you just keep on just like throwing it at the board, just like mindlessly, something has to stick. But the key is just to keep throwing it.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic. Any final words?
No, I think hopefully I know I kind of deviated and went off on tangents and said a lot of stories, but hopefully it was useful.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really appreciate it. Congrats on all the success so far. I'm sure your
Thank
attitude,
you.
and now you've got some experience on the board in your field. I think I don't know, I have a feeling you're going to be doing some pretty crazy things in the next 5, 10 years. So
Thank you.
I'll keep looking out.
For sure. And anybody, like I said earlier, anybody who, if I will be of some help to somebody, even if it's just like motivation, not really good at it, but I can just be like, let's keep going. Like, or if they want to get into the field, or if it's about like my the kind of courses that I did, I'm from UQ. So if it's about economics or finance or anything at all, if I can help anybody in any way, I'm more than happy to do so.